Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll be right back with today's guest, but as always, we want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Now, don't hit that fast forward button. It's only going to take 3 minutes. These are all great companies. I used them. You should be using them too. So, take those 3 minutes, listen to our shout outs, then listen to our interview, and then go and visit these sponsors. I'm telling you, you're going to be glad you did. Here we go. We want to say thanks to our good friends at Sideline Interactive, indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule a live web demo today. I've said many times, probably the best purchase I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. One more time, go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that demo. We also want to say thanks to our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years. As an AD, we were a Huddle school, and our coaches, our student athletes, even our parents just love the platform. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. We also want to say thank you to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and Beacon Creative, their content creation service. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. They're going to take your stories, your history, your coaches, your student athletes, and with their talented team of writers and creators, come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on social media, maybe on a Vital Signs video board. You really got to see it to believe it. Go to vitalsignswalloffame.com. Click on Content Services for more information. And for all of our sponsors, make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. We'd also like to say thanks to our friends at Gipper. Your athletic department deserves to stand out, and Gipper's the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to look like you're Division I, like you're professional grade. Gipper's used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. See why they're number one for athletic marketing. Gipper makes it easy for any athletic department to create, post, and schedule all their social media with their professionally designed templates that you can customize with your colors, your brands, your logos. Go to Gipper.com. It's the platform you want to use to post your social media. Let's also thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management, and more. Home Campus does all of this, and it does it better and faster than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com for more information. Homecampus.com. Let's also say thank you to Booster Hub, the #1 Booster Club software package. Scheduling volunteers, keeping track of volunteer changes. You know what's going to happen. Booster Hub takes care of that. Nothing falls through the cracks. Everybody stays engaged. The same thing for sponsorship payments and concession sales. Booster Hub does it all. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others. And while they were earning their degree, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Let's also say thank you to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their suite of solutions that includes things like, digital ticketing. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider for schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising with School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all and more at hometown.com. And finally, let's say thanks to Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. If you haven't used a survey to take the pulse of your student athletes, your coaches, or your parents, you're really missing out. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that truly connects you with every one of your stakeholders. That's Athletic Surveys by LifeTrack. And as with all our sponsors, don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Hey, welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the Educational AD Podcast. It's a back to college episode. We're going to Liberty University, and our guest is Sarah Boruta. Sarah is the director of operations for women's basketball at Liberty. She's also the founder of her own venture that we're going to hear about later, College Basketball Operations Institute. Very excited. Sarah Boruta, welcome to the Educational AD Podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Oh, very excited. And again, for our listeners, we're recording this on June 9th, so it's going to be very timely as you listen to it. Sarah, we always like to let our listeners have a chance to get to know our guests. So give us your quick bio, where you were born, where you grew up. Maybe take us up through your own college days, and then we'll take a break. But what's the Sarah Boruta origin story?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in Mason, Michigan. I played some sports growing up. I loved basketball. And then when I was in fifth grade, actually, my gym teacher told my parents that they needed to take me to a Michigan State women's basketball game. And I did not think that was a great idea, but Michigan State was a local university, so they ended up taking me there kicking and screaming. And it turns out that it was jokes on them. I loved it. And so from then on, every single game that Michigan State had at home, through the rest of my time living with my parents in Mason, Michigan, I made them take me to. And so that fostered my love for basketball even more. I loved that team. I wanted to be just like those players. And they were my role models. I wanted to play Division I basketball. And I played basketball all through middle school, all through high school. Very quickly realized that that goal of playing Division I basketball was not going to happen. While I really enjoyed shooting the ball, I was not very good at anything else, nor did I really want to do any cardio to get better at anything. And so I ended up going to college knowing that I wanted to work in basketball operations because at a Michigan State game, of course, I saw that one of their opponents had a director of basketball operations. And I was like, oh my gosh, I've always wanted to work in college basketball, but I didn't know that an administrative position was even a thing at that point. It just seemed like I had to coach and I knew I didn't want to coach. So when I saw that this position was available, I knew that for the rest of my time in high school and college, this is something that I wanted to pursue. And so when I was in college, I ended up working as the manager and unofficial director of basketball operations for my college team. And that gave me the opportunity to get that experience and help position me well for when I was graduating and trying to get that position as a job.
Well, I love the stories. And again, the kicking and screaming part, but what was it about it? Was it the stadium environment? Was it the crowd, the noise? What do you remember from that visit?
I truly don't know. I think just because it wasn't my idea, I didn't want to do it. But she said, I mean, Michigan State basketball, men's basketball at that time was very popular but very expensive. And she said that this was a really good low cost alternative for me to be able to get to see a lot of basketball. And being athletic like I was, she thought I'd really enjoy it. And turns out I did. And those were the role models that I had all growing up.
Now, looking at your own sports career, you mentioned middle school and high school basketball. Even before that, were your parents, did they take you to, was it travel basketball a thing, or was it, youth basketball? What are some memories of that time of your life?
I played like on a church league. I played a little bit for my school. I did a little bit of travel basketball, but to be honest with you, I really just wasn't that good. And so I wasn't going to go very far in that. And I had one year where I really enjoyed travel ball. My team was absolutely terrible, but I absolutely loved the girls. They were so much fun. And then I upgraded my team the next year and didn't like any of my teammates. So after that, I decided to stop and just focused on playing school ball, which was a blast. We ended up winning the state championship my senior year.
Wow. Okay, so there had to be a little bit of a baller there. I was going to ask. You said you were a shooter. Now, were you a shooter or were you a maker? Okay.
Well, I was pretty much a bench sitter my senior year because we had a McDonald's All-American. She was the one who led us to everything. But it was so much fun having her on the team and getting to see the effort level that she put in. And also being the college basketball nerd that I was, seeing all these coaches show up in the stands at our games and at practice was so much fun for me. I never knew who I would see walking into the gym every day.
All right, let's do some name dropping. Who's somebody that walked in that you go, wow, they're at practice.
Well, for me, I really loved Penn State women's basketball at that time. And when I walked in one day during my senior year and saw Renee Portland sitting in the chair at practice, I about lost my mind.
Good. Now, did you go total fangirl, or were you a pro? Did you stay in your lane?
I would love to say I did that, but no, I did not.
I think I probably would have been there with you. All right. You mentioned that college basketball, wasn't in the cards, but you knew you wanted to stay and be involved with the game. And you talked about that managerial experience. Now, any coach or AD listening right now knows that a good manager is gold. As you were doing your managerial duties, and we can go into that list too, were there any basketball ops things that your coach, put on your plate?
Well, so actually, when I realized that it was after my freshman year that I realized that I needed to get relevant basketball experience if I was ever going to get this job when I graduated. My degree is in graphic design, and my professors were all telling me, you need to get an internship in graphic design over the summer so you have something to put on your resume. And I thought, oh my gosh, this sounds so boring. Why would I ever want to do that? And then I realized, oh my gosh, if I need to do that for graphic design, then I actually need to be getting relevant basketball experience if I want to go into basketball. And I immediately emailed the coach of my school, Ferris State's basketball team, and asked her if I could come on and be her unofficial director of basketball operations. And so while I was a student manager, I was more off the court in terms of I was handling the administrative duties. We only had two coaches as a Division two school. And so there was a lot I could do. I could help with film exchange. I could help with a little bit with recruiting stuff. I could help with travel. I did a lot with summer camp. All those things, those are all core responsibilities of what I do right now. And so when I was interviewing, especially for my job at Stanford, I had a lot to speak on because that was what I'd been doing the last 3 years.
Now, while you were doing this, unofficial basketball director of basketball
Unpaid.
ops, I wasn't going to go there, but I kind of assumed paid. How long? And I imagine that your coaches were very grateful for wow, this gal's doing a heck of a job. But did you notice that right away that there was an appreciation for what you were bringing to the program? And again, these are my words, as opposed to, oh, just go do this and don't bother us.
Yeah, they were fantastic. The head coach, I still stay in touch with her to this day, and she was just so welcoming into her program. I mean, she accepted me, not even knowing who I was that summer, and brought me along to help with her camp that summer. And then every Christmas, I would stay at her house because the dorms would close. I had nowhere to live, and so I would stay at her house so I could be around the team just a few more weeks during Christmas. And she was just wonderful. I mean, anything I could do for her, she was excited about. And when I went up above and beyond, because I really wanted this for my career, I mean, it was so appreciated.
Now, obviously, I mean, you've been very successful. You are very successful in these endeavors and your private endeavors. At the time, what was mom and dad's reaction that the graphic design degree was kind of over here and you're spending all this time in basketball? Were they, did they support you in this?
Yeah, mom and dad knew that I wanted to be in basketball operations, but they said you need to get a degree that is a backup plan. And so because I liked scrapbooking, my mom said, you should do graphic design. And I said, okay, like let me do that. And I was good at it. I was. My professors actually were upset with me taking a spot in their program because they knew that I wasn't going to actually use my degree, but I was very good, so they couldn't cut me. And but yeah, I mean, all along, I knew that I wanted to be a director of basketball operations. That was what I was pursuing. I was still going to be the best graphic designer I could be because I knew that sports is volatile. Like I needed a backup plan. I didn't play college sports. I wasn't going to have that network going into trying to get a job. Like it was going to be very hard for me to get in. And so I knew that I needed to have that backup plan. But ultimately, my parents knew that I was going to try to end up in basketball if at all possible.
Right. Well, and again, it seems to have worked out okay. Let's go and take our first break. And when we come back, I want you to take our listeners on your journey that has now brought you to Liberty. But first, let's go and take that break. We are coming back, though, so please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to say thanks to our great friends at Sideline Interactive indoor score tables and video boards. Go to sidelineinteractive.com and you can schedule a live web demo to see all of their great products in action. You've heard me say many times, probably one of the best purchases I ever made as an athletic director was our Sideline Interactive indoor score table. We use it for home games, of course, but we also use it for pep rallies, for signing ceremonies. Their products are tremendously versatile and their customer service just outstanding. Go to sidelineinteractive.com. Schedule that live web demo today. We also want to thank our friends at Huddle. As a football coach, I used Huddle for years, but when I became an athletic director, I made sure that our school was a Huddle school. And our coaches, I'm telling you, all of our coaches just love the Huddle platform. Our student athletes love the videos, our parents love the streaming, but there's a whole lot more. Go to huddle.com, join the millions of users, and turn your school into a Huddle school. That's huddle.com. And don't forget to mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Sarah, you shared how you got into and how your love for basketball operations developed. Now that you're getting ready to graduate, you kind of talked about, not having, say, a built-in network that coaching or even playing might provide. So what were your moves to land, I would say, a pretty prestigious job right out of the chute?
Yeah, I had talked to a lot of coaches who came in to play us when I was at Ferris State and just asked them, hey, what do you think I need to be doing right now to position myself well for when I graduate? And one of them ended up suggesting, hey, you need to go to the Final Four, go to the WBCA convention associated with it, go to every session and talk to the people you're sitting next to. And so I did that. And that was hard for me as an introvert because I don't really like to talk to people. And that was a very stretching experience. But ultimately, I knew because I wasn't going into trying to find this job with a network that I needed to get myself a network and that this was the way to do it. And so I went to every session. I talked to the people sitting next to me. It was one of the final few days, and it was an 8 a.m. session where it was on the influence of the media. And there were only a few of us in there, maybe like 6 people. And so they were peppering us with questions about like, hey, if the media asked you this, like, how are you going to spin this to like benefit yourself? And the question I got was, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And so I was able to share my story and share that, hey, I'm in college right now. I'm getting a degree in graphic design, but I don't intend to use that degree. I intend to work in college basketball. And that's why I'm here because I need to establish a network in order to get that job. And so after that session, the woman sitting next to me leaned over and she said, hey, I could build bridges. I have a degree in civil engineering, but I just want to coach. And so we were both kind of laughing over that. And turns out she was an assistant coach at Stanford and she offered to look over my resume. And I said, well, sure, absolutely. Like, why would I turn that down? So we went back and forth on that a little bit after I returned back to Michigan. And I never really thought anything would come of that. But then a couple weeks later, she emails me and asks me if I want to be Stanford's intern the following season. I guess it was a year-long position, unpaid, but that was the stepping stone to my career. That's all I needed. But the sad thing was I still had a year left of school. And so I actually couldn't take it because I had worked too hard for those graphic design classes to give up with 1 year left. I knew I couldn't transfer those credits. I knew I would never go back. And so I told her, I said, look, if it's a year-long position, is there any way I could do it next year? Like, I want this more than anything. You have no idea, but I cannot give up the work that I've done so far in college. And she said, look, I can't promise that to you, but hit me up this time next year and we'll have a conversation about it. I ended up doing that and I ended up getting it. So that's how I ended up at Stanford. And my time at Stanford was incredible. It was absolutely amazing to go into work every day with Hall of Famer Tara Vanderveer and her staff and see what excellence looked like on a daily basis. I mean, having that as my first experience, like in a working environment as a real job, it taught me so many things about where that bar needs to be if you want to win a conference and a national championship.
Well, so many great points there. Number one, the putting yourself out there and being bold and starting those conversations and building that network. I mention that all the time when I talk to young athletic directors or aspiring coaches, aspiring ADs. That is one of the most important tools that you can have in your toolbox is that network. And it's one that, for me, I failed to do early in my career. I didn't want people to think I was a dope, that I didn't know all the answers. And of course I was a dope because I didn't ask and start that earlier. But it's good for you. And absolutely, boy, talk about hitting a home run out of the gate there. Stanford women's basketball, I'll say at the time, was there anything remotely close to being the top of the program? Maybe there's one other out there, but we're not gonna mention that. When you came in, was it boy? This is where I need to be. Was it a perfect fit? Were there some growing pains? Like, wow, this is Stanford. Do I belong here? What were some of your thoughts from those first few weeks?
It was a fantastic fit. I feel like the way Tara works and her expectations fit exactly how I worked. She's very clear about what she wants from you, and I'm a very direct person, and so I always knew how she felt, whether that was good or whether that was bad. I knew what I needed to do, and I knew what she wanted done, and she's so efficient, and so am I. Um, but for me, like it was a lot of learning. I was her full-time video coordinator essentially because the video coordinator had left over the summer and she had offered me $10,000 to be her video intern now, which I'm like, sign me up. Like I'll take 10 grand. That's awesome. Like I just want to be here. But I had to teach myself how to do all of that video because that video was at a higher level than what I had done at Ferris State. I mean, all video technology is fairly similar in terms of how it works, but this had a lot more bells and whistles. And so I took a laptop home. I went out and worked their summer camp just to kind of get the lay of the land in July, and they didn't want me back until September. So I took a laptop home with a license of our software, and I learned it myself. And I went out to a conference actually right before I reported to Stanford, and it was a 3-day conference. And by the third day, I had someone lean over and ask me like, "How long have you been working in this software? Like, you're really good at this." I was like, "Well, actually, this is like my third like real day of this." And they're like, "Oh my gosh, I thought you'd been working this for years." But I knew this was my opportunity and I was not about to blow it.
And again, a bunch of different lessons there of taking the initiative to go out early, going to the workshop to learn how to use the platform properly. Were there when you got back in the fall? Were there some wide eyes? Wow, you're pretty good, or was that was the Tara Vanderveer expectation?
Oh, that was the expectation. Like I needed to make sure that I was going to be great because everyone around Tara is great because she demands greatness, and I was not going to let her down.
Mm-hmm. Looking back on your time at Stanford, was there a moment, or I'm a big moments guy, maybe there were a couple of moments where you can look at an aspect, a video breakdown of an opponent that led to a victory, or just, anything that sticks out for you that you can say humbly, of course, hey, I did that.
I don't know if there's like a specific moment, but Tara loved her video. And I was responsible for giving video to her and all the coaching staff. And so it was so gratifying to do my job day in and day out because no matter what video I gave her, she was just so excited to watch it. And she watched all of it. And she would remember, like, this is what happened at, 9 minutes left in the first half or whatever. Like, she would know game by game. And I would have to travel on the road with DVDs back from like, 5 to 10 years ago because she'd be like, I want to watch that minute in that game because she knew everything that was going on. And so I wouldn't say there was like an actual direct moment, but being able, especially on like selection Monday at the time, to be able to present her with all the footage that I'd gathered throughout the year on our first round opponent, like immediately once we were selected, was so gratifying. That was just like my Christmas morning. But then for us winning that Pac-10 championship my first year it was so incredible to see all of that work just come together and be like, wow, we did this. I did this. this is amazing. Like we won and I got an extra large shirt, of course, because I wasn't that important on the staff. And so, I got the leftovers. And I went online and I bought myself a size small because I'm like, I worked way too hard to not have a shirt that I'm going to wear.
I love, I love it. And as somebody who born and raised and grew up, started my career in the great state of Oregon, I'm a Pac-10. I'm a Pac-8 guy, Pac-10, Pac-12. So I'm right there with you. Good for you. As you were, I think we can say, living the dream at Stanford, were you, I guess, actively looking at that next step? Because you said basketball ops, that was kind of the goal. Were you looking at that, or did the Liberty job just kind of happen serendipitously?
I was looking a little bit after my third year at Stanford. I mean, this was only supposed to be a 1 year internship, but I loved them and they loved me. And so it ended up turning into a full-time job. But after my third year, I thought, okay, at some point I need to move on to what I really want to do, even though I'm absolutely loving it here. And I kind of thought that whenever the Liberty job opened, I would probably get called because the sister of my head coach at Ferris State worked for Liberty and actually still works for Liberty. So I kind of had a feeling that when that opened, they would come after me. And they called me after my third year at Stanford. And to be honest with you, I didn't want to leave Stanford. Like I'd been poking around here and there a little bit and thinking about maybe leaving, but I really loved it there. I did not want to go. And so when Liberty called me, I can still remember I didn't pick up the phone because I didn't want it to be real. And so I ended up interviewing because I knew I needed to. I knew ultimately I could tell when I got that phone call that my next destination was going to be Liberty, but it was just such a sad thing to think about leaving Stanford because we had gone to the Final Four 3 years in a row. I wanted to win a national title, and I did not want them to win the next year without me there. And so but ultimately, like I interviewed with Coach Green, he's moved on from Liberty, he retired, but he was such a genuine man. And I could tell that I was going to be treated so well there and that he was going to be true to his word. I was never going to be asked to do anything that I wasn't comfortable with. And I had a lot of friends in college athletics at that time who had worked for coaches that it just wasn't good. And I knew that if I was going to move on from somewhere I really enjoyed, that I needed to move to another really good situation. And I could tell that Liberty was going to be that, and I was going to be treated really well. And so that made me comfortable making that move.
Yeah. Again, I'd love to continue with this Stanford thread, but we're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to have Sarah share how she got to Liberty and what she's been doing there. She's been there just a couple of years, so let's take that break. When we come back, we're going to have more from our guest, Sarah Boruta, Director of Basketball Operations for Women at Liberty University. Please stay with us. We also want to say thanks to our good friends at Vital Signs Wall of Fame and their content creation platform, Beacon Creative. Now, Wall of Fame has been helping schools bring their legacy to life for over a decade with their video boards, but Beacon Creative takes it to a whole new level. Their talented team of writers and creators are going to take your stories, your history about your coaches, your kids, your program, and come up with compelling narratives that you can then post on your social media platform, maybe on a Wall of Fame video board. You really got to see it to believe it. I want you to reach out to Vital Signs Wall of Fame and click on Content Services. You're going to be glad you did. VitalSignsWallOfFame.com. We also want to thank our friends at Gipper. Your athletic department is doing great things, and Gipper is the modern marketing platform that makes it easy for you to look like you're a Division I, maybe even professional grade program. Gipper is used and trusted by over 20,000 high school and college athletic programs. See why they're rated #1 for athletic marketing. Gipper makes it so easy with their thousands of professionally designed templates that you can then customize with your colors, your mascot, your logo. Create, share, and schedule all your social media on one platform, and that platform is Gipper. Go to Gipper.com to get started. And we want to thank Home Campus. Scheduling, rosters, results, facility management, you name it, Home Campus does it, and they do it better than the other platforms. Did I mention athletic eligibility and clearance? That one alone is a game changer. Go to homecampus.com to find out all the great things that they can do for you and your department. And as always, make sure you mention you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everybody, to the Educational AD Podcast. Once again, our guest is Sarah Boruta. She is the Director of Basketball Operations for the women's basketball program at Liberty University. Sarah, you talked a little bit about Liberty reaching out to you and your decision to make that change. And now you've been there, I think, 15 years. So obviously it's been a pretty good fit. Talk about that first arrival. Was it everything you thought it was going to be? Was it, did you have to make a lot of changes and corrections? How were those get adjusted first 30, 60 days for you?
It was very different from being at Stanford. Obviously, they're very different programs, and very different geographic regions. But the cool thing about going back to Liberty was that it was a lot like my growing up in Michigan, so it felt very comfortable. It was a pretty good fit, both on and off the court for me, just naturally, and probably why I've been here 15 years. They say that Lynchburg sucks you in, and it really has. Like, this is a great place to live. But yeah, I would say what I was excited to give up at Stanford was having to do all of the video all the time. Like, I really, really wanted to do the operational tasks. At Stanford, our director of basketball operations didn't travel. And so I would handle executing all the tasks while we were on the road, but I wanted to be able to make those decisions. I wanted to be able to strategically manage the budget and decide, okay, this is how we're going to utilize our funds strategically in order to align with our program goals. And so now being able to be in that role, and every year I see what my budget is and I see what my road trips are, and being able to decide, okay, well, this is how we're going to do each trip, and then work with my head coach to make sure that we're being as strategic as possible in order to essentially use our money to buy us wins. That's something I really enjoy. I really love the puzzle of that. And I like being able to work with other departments on campus. Like at Stanford, I was very focused in the video, like so focused that I didn't get outside of the department as much as I am able to here. And so being able to establish those relationships and kind of be like the project manager of women's basketball and making sure that every administrative deal is taken care of and communicated well, those are things I enjoy as well.
Boy, again, so many areas I want to go with. First, you used the expression, I just love it, using our money to buy us wins. Such a big picture look. I think some people, certainly not me, think a director of ops they're making hotel reservations and travel plans. I think there's a lot more that goes into it. What are some of the areas that a director of basketball ops is responsible for on that, day-to-day, side-by-side working with the coaches?
Yeah, day to day, I mean, a lot of it is planning that travel ahead of time and then executing it. A lot of directors of operations are running the summer camps, which if you have a big summer camp, that's probably an 11-month process. It's not really just like happening during June, maybe the month before. Like, that's something that when I did camps, that was very much an 11-month process of, marketing and then planning and then executing. I order all of our gear and equipment. I schedule our games. I work with our marketing department. I work with our ticketing department. I mean, a lot of it's communication with all the departments across campus, sometimes on big things, sometimes on small things. But whatever I can do to get those administrative things off of my coaches' plates and even off of my players' plates so that they can focus more on winning games and practicing and getting better and recruiting so that obviously we can position ourselves well to be successful. Everyone needs to do their strength. My strength is administration. All those administrative tasks, we want me handling them.
Talking about taking things off their plate, that was something I tried to do as an athletic director. I remember the last school I was at when I got hired, I met with all of our coaches that summer. And the first question I asked them is, and this was a great school. There wasn't any fixing that needed to be done by me. I asked them, what can I do to make your job more fun? What are some things I can take off your plate that, you were doing? And there were several things, and it was a great move by me, in hindsight, not because I wanted to have a great move. I was truly trying to help them out. But what are some things that maybe the coaches had or the players had prior to your arrival at Liberty that you were able to take off their plate?
I think the biggest one was summer camp. One of our assistant coaches ran summer camp in her lack of free time while she was the third assistant on our staff. And I mean, that's tough to have a coach running camp, especially back when you had only four coaches. And so I knew coming in that I was going to pick up camp. And my head coach said, "Hey, if you grow it, like I'll give you a cut of it." And so there was my goal to, hey, let me supplement my salary. Let me see what I can do with this. And he wanted me to improve our individual camps as well as start a team camp. And for me, this is again where I needed to get my name out. I needed to make sure that we got teams into this team camp, because if you don't have teams in your team camp, you have no one for them to play. And therefore your team camp is going to fail. So I cold called every single girls varsity basketball coach in the state of Virginia. And for someone who is shy and doesn't like talking to people, again, that was terrible. But I got word out. Our camp was fairly successful my first year, but ever since then, it's grown and grown and grown. And last year was my last year of doing camps here. And my slogan for that year was last one, best one. And it truly was the best one. For the third straight year, we sold out our team camp. We had about 100 kids in our elite camp, which was one of the best that we've ever done. And ultimately, I took this camp and I raised its attendance by over 1,000%, and I raised the revenue by over 3,000% during my tenure here. And that's something that probably never would have happened if they had left it with a coach. But I was able to not only take that, but I grew it like crazy, and it became one of the best camps in the region.
So who picked up the baton? Who's carrying on the legacy that Sarah started with the Liberty basketball camps?
It's now my assistant's role.
Okay. So now that position, I'm guessing, didn't exist when you first came to Liberty, right?
It was more of an admin secretarial position, but the person who's in that role now actually came to Liberty. She was my camp intern, I think in 2021. And then she came back to Liberty from a hard situation where I knew that what we were going to pay her was not what she was worth. But I was like, come work with me. Like, we'll treat you well. It'll be great. And she actually came so that she could train under me to be a director of basketball operations. And so we changed the title, we changed the position duties. It's not secretarial anymore. It's actually administrative assistant director of operations. And she's phenomenal. She's been there for 3 years now. She's certainly ready to take over any program that would want her if she wants to leave. But it's been an absolute blessing having her, and she will do a great job.
Right. Again, those labels are key, GA, intern, secretary to administrative assistant, and now assistant or associate director of game ops. The pay doesn't change that much, but the title does. But you get that all important experience. All right. I'm putting you on the spot with this next question. As somebody who became a video expert at Stanford, now that's under you as the director of basketball ops, do you have a critical or an encouraging eye towards your video director at Liberty?
It's funny. Video has changed so much since I was at Stanford. I left Stanford the year that Synergy was really coming online. And so when I was at Stanford, I had to record all the games off TV and burn them to DVD and then digitize them and then cut them. And I mean, when I was at Ferris State, we were still sending VHS tapes through the mail.
Right.
Now with Synergy, we don't even really need to have a video coordinator. Our coaches can pull clips immediately. They can pull whatever they want and they can make their own edits. So we don't really have, we have someone who handles video, but really everyone is so much more independent than they ever were before because it doesn't take as much effort that I can't really even answer that question because we don't have anyone like I was at Stanford.
Well, it makes sense, as the technology has evolved.
I know. I'm so jealous now. I spent so much time working with that dang DVR, and now nobody even knows what that even was like.
Hey, I'm a little bit older than you. I still remember being that lowly assistant that had to drive 3 hours on a Saturday with a VHS tape to make the handoff at some convenience store. Okay.
Yes.
So,
yes.
Sarah, we're going to do this at the end of the podcast, but I want to do it now too. If one of our listeners wants to reach out, pick your brain a little bit more on organization, on leadership, on basketball ops, on video technology, or if they just want to become a part of your network, what's the best way that our listeners can connect with Sarah Boruta?
Well, they're always welcome to email me at sebaruta@liberty.edu or sarah@collegebasketballops.com or just find me on LinkedIn. That's a great way to connect as well.
Okay. And that's how you and I connected on LinkedIn.
Mhm.
Let's go and take another break. I know that's shocking to our regular listeners, but we are going to come back with more. And Sarah's going to share about her own endeavor, which I'm excited to hear about. This is the Educational AD Podcast. Please come back. We want to say thanks to Booster Hub. It's the #1 Booster Club software app. And if you're an athletic director, you're probably working with your boosters on volunteer signups. You're definitely working with volunteer changes. You know it's going to happen. Nothing falls through the cracks. Booster Hub's platform keeps everybody connected. Everybody stays on top of things. The same is true with concession sales or sponsorship fees. Booster Hub runs everything through their secure platform. Give your boosters the platform they need. Give them the platform they deserve. And that platform is Booster Hub. Go to boosterhub.com for more information. We also want to say thank you to Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. Now, I didn't get my master's through the Ohio program, but guess what? My assistant athletic director did, along with thousands of others, and it was a great experience. And while they were earning their degrees, they also completed 11 NIAAA leadership training courses at no extra charge. Check out Ohio University and their online masters in athletic administration. And we want to say thanks to Hometown. Hometown continues to be a leader in education-based athletics with their suite of solutions that includes things like, well, digital ticketing, of course. They're still the #1 digital ticketing provider to schools and colleges. But how about fee-free fundraising through School Funder, athletic website construction? The Hometown list goes on and on. Whether you're a principal, an athletic director, even a head coach, Hometown is going to show you how to save time. They're going to show you how to raise more money, and they're going to show you how to bring your entire community together. You'll find it all at hometown.com. And guess what? Tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Welcome back, everyone, to our visit with Sarah Boruta. She's the Director of Women's College Basketball Operations at Liberty University. Sarah, you also recently started your own venture called College Basketball Operations Institute. What was the inspiration for that? What is it? And share with our listeners why they should care. And listeners, you should care.
For sure. So throughout my time at Liberty, I have had the opportunity to mentor a lot of students. We have a sport management program, and so a lot of students naturally come to me and just ask, hey, how do I get into college athletics? Or, hey, I'd really like your job. Like, what should I do in order to get there? And I'm happy to mentor them. And that's just not Liberty kids, but like I'll get students from all over as well. And I'm happy to help them because I know how much I've been helped and I know how valuable that was for me getting to where I'm at. And so I always want to be there as a resource for them. But I would always get so frustrated in these conversations because I felt like there's so many students that want to get into college basketball operations and they're willing to work for it, but they have no idea where to put that work in order to be successful. And so that's why I eventually started the College Basketball Operations Institute, because I want to pave that path for them and build that bridge so that they can strategically put their efforts into getting experience and into creating their network in ways that will help them when they graduate. So I have two programs through the Institute, and they're both designed to provide skills training in the core operational skills of a director of operations. And then, even more importantly, they provide decision-making training as well. Because here's the thing, if I train them how to do a skill exactly how I do it at Liberty, well, that's different than how I would do it at Stanford. That's different than how I would do it at Ferris State. Because every school has different resources, every school has different constraints, both institutionally, within the conference and within the NCAA. And so if I can train them into thinking about, well, what factors and considerations go into this decision in order to align it with program goals, well, then they can take that framework anywhere and be successful. And then lastly, the Institute also provides resume and interview support. Just because if these participants go through it and learn all these things, they need to be able to then communicate them effectively when they're pursuing a job.
It just sounds like such a cool idea. I do exactly the same thing for aspiring athletic directors, through my own venture. And you're absolutely right. The sport world, the sport industry, just like technology, has grown so much. And what let's say an assistant coach used to do or a manager used to do, now you have a director of ops, director of recruiting. You have all these niches where the jobs are available, but well, how do I get into? How do I break through? So this just sounds like a great program. What's some of the feedback you've gotten from clients or people that are aware of the College Basketball Ops Institute that what's some of the feedback you've gotten so far?
Yeah, I think my highest praise came last week in one of my sessions with a guy that I onboarded maybe about a month ago. And I kind of position my programs as when I'm marketing them as a bit of a class, like a class that is more relevant than any student who's in sport management would take, just because it's specific to what they want to do. Every single bit of the work that we do, we call them operation simulations. Every bit of that, every bit of the lesson we go through, they're all relevant to exactly what a director of operations would experience. And we even end each session with an operations scenario analysis where it's like, hey, I'm hitting you with a situation right now that you have to make a decision as to how you're going to handle this. It's relevant to the module topic, and it's exactly what's happened to me in some situation, probably more than once. This is what's going to happen to you eventually out in the real world. So let's deal with it now, figure out how to handle it. You're on the spot, go. And so they have to deal with that. And I had one of my people last week tell me, he said, I put off continuing my grad school this summer to do your program, and I'm really glad I did. And that just made my heart so happy because that's exactly what I want out of this program.
Oh no, absolutely. Now you mentioned, some of the lessons, if you will, that you share with your clients. They're from experiences that you have had. Are you, keeping it close to home at this point, or have you heard about, somebody at, I don't know, Wake Forest or someplace else that this is something they had to go through? Have you shared any lessons from peers or people from your network?
I haven't had to at this point, but I do have. There are certain situations where I have in my back pocket if I need to. I try to tailor each lesson and each scenario to the actual participant to see whatever they need. But the reality is that I've been in this for almost 20 years, and so I have experienced so much good, so much bad, so much having to figure things out on the fly that there are not many scenarios that I have not seen.
Right. And that doesn't surprise me at all. Again, coaches or ADs, whatever group it is, I'm sure it's the same with ops people. When you're in your group, and somebody goes, hey, I had this happen. Have you ever had this happen? And, well, yeah, about, 9 or 10 times, in that long career. So yeah, very good answer. How do our listeners find out more about college basketball ops? Give us websites, give us contact information. How do they find out more if this is an area that they want to go down, or if they know somebody that wants to go down this path?
For sure. Collegebasketballops.com is my website. And again, feel free to connect with me on LinkedIn if you have any questions. The website does have a pretty good description of each program and what the participant would learn. So it is a good resource to look through the program and just see, hey, like, is this something that I would be interested in? Is the content interesting to me? But then I'm always happy to reach out and have a conversation with whoever is interested in, because I really want this to be a good fit. Like, I don't want to teach someone who it isn't right for. So I always like to have a conversation first, just to make sure, like, does this work? Because I actually had someone try to sign up for my program who thought it was athletic training. And I was like, okay, well, if you need me to tape your ankle, like, this isn't going to be a good fit. But if you need to learn how to do basketball operations, like, this is going to be great for you. So yeah, feel free to reach out. I would say, like, if you are a listener who knows of a student or early career athletics professional who this would be a good fit for, one thing I've learned in marketing this program is that students don't know what they don't know. And so it's hard for them to understand the value of a professional development program like this, particularly when they're already taking classes, just because they haven't yet had that realization that I just by getting my degree is not going to get me a job. And so until they have that realization and that moment of I need experience, I need a network, I need skills, hopefully they don't have that a month or two before they graduate because that's always a hard conversation when people come to me then. But like if you have someone that you can speak into their life and speak that truth that they need to get experience like this in order to set themselves apart from their peers for when they need to get a job when they graduate, do it, help them. Even if it's not in this area, like speak to them in whatever they want or whatever area they want to go in because that will only help them. Like, I truly hate it when students come to me a month before they graduate and say, hey, how can I get your job? Well, you should have come to me a year or two ago. Like, that would have been fantastic. We could have done so much together. Like, I am actually onboarding a guy tomorrow who just finished his second year in college. And I'm so excited because he's going through this program now. We have 2 years to get him ready for graduation. Like, he's setting himself for so much ups for so much success. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to have him. But the reason he's doing that is because his head coach spoke that life into him to tell him he needed to do this.
Well, and you brought up another great point a couple of times. From the networking standpoint, it's not always who you know, it's who knows you. And by them getting to know you, I can't imagine that that's not going to have some benefits for them down the road, certainly, with your oversight as you see, fit to recommend them. But yeah, absolutely, get involved. Sarah, this has been so cool connecting with you. Glad I was able to add you to my network, and thanks for all that you're doing in this space. But we're not done yet. We always wrap up with a segment we call the Athletic Director's Toolbox. It's really the leadership toolbox. You certainly know your way around successful athletic programs. We're going to take our final break and hear from Athletic Surveys, who sponsor this segment. When we come back, I'm going to challenge you to send out a brand new leader in athletics, but I'm only going to let you put 3 tools in the toolbox. So let's take that break, and when we come back, we're going to see what Sarah Boruta puts in her new athletic director toolbox. Please stay with us. This is the Educational AD Podcast. We want to thank Athletic Surveys for sponsoring the AD Toolbox segment of the podcast. At my school, we use surveys for just about everything, for our student athletes, for our coaches, even for our parents. And here's the cool thing. The information that came back on these surveys, almost always over the top positive, and I'm sure it'll be the same for you. But the surveys also allowed us to connect with our squeaky wheel, particularly our squeaky wheel parents. And it allowed us to hear their concerns, usually address them before they turned into something big. But getting back to that positive data, incredibly valuable, especially when you're visiting with a frustrated parent, sometimes your principal, sometimes even your school board. Go to athleticsurveys.com. They're going to create a custom survey that lets you take the pulse of everybody in your program. That's athleticsurveys.com. And guess what? Make sure you tell them you heard about it on the Educational AD Podcast. Well, it's that time of the podcast. We've been visiting today with Sarah Boruta. She is the Director of Basketball Operations for the women's basketball program at Liberty University. She's also the founder of College Basketball Operations Institute. Make sure you check out both of them. But right now, I'm going to challenge her to send out a brand new leader in the world of athletics, but I'm only going to let her put 3 tools in the toolbox. So, Sarah, what 3 items are going to go into your new leadership toolbox?
All right. Well, that's a great question. I think I would start with giving them the tool of being very good at and adept at having the back of those who report to them. I know that when I am working with a senior level administrator on things where, say, there's an NCAA conference or institutional policy that happens and change that's made, and I can see down the line how that's going to affect my team negatively. If I can go to them or I can send my head coach to go to them and they're receptive of that and receptive of trying to fix that situation before it becomes an issue, even if they can't get it fixed, just knowing that they care enough to try to fix that, that makes me feel so valued and so respected. And if leaders are willing to do that and have the backs of the people underneath them, ultimately, when they need those people most, those people are going to be willing to go an extra mile for them. So I think that's my number one. Number two, I think they have to have a vision, and it needs to be a very clear vision. Because ultimately, if they're leading a department and don't know what direction they're going in, they're going to fail. Because when you're leading a department, you have so many hard decisions you have to make, and you need to be able to have a framework to help you make those decisions easier. So if you have a culture and you have a mission and you know what direction you want to go in, then all of a sudden making those decisions is easy because, well, hey, this is what I want to accomplish. This is what I'm doing. And it's really easy to then justify your decisions to those who may or may not agree with it. I know when I was at Stanford, Tara Vanderveer, we were going to win the national championship or we were going to put butts in seats, meaning we were going to increase our attendance. If my duty at hand did not align with either of those, I didn't have to do it because ultimately, number one, win the national championship, number two, put butts in seats. There was no number three. And so it was very easy to prioritize my tasks and justify my decisions because it was going to fit one of those two. And now even at Liberty in the era of NIL, it's, how can we win games and then how can we increase our NIL money? Like those are probably our top two goals. And so it makes making decisions very easy when you know how to align with whatever that vision is. And then I think number three, you need to be able to communicate that vision and you need to be able to communicate it very effectively because your vision does you no good if the people that you're surrounded with aren't on board with it and don't know what it is. So you need to make sure your department understands it. You need to make sure that you're that your president is on board with that. You need to make sure your donors are on board with that. And same with your student athletes. Ultimately, they're out there representing your program. And in this era of unlimited transfers, you need to make sure that student athletes are bought into your culture or else, they're going to be out the door real fast. So I think, you need to make sure you have the people's backs around you. You need to make sure you have a vision and then you need to make sure you can effectively communicate that vision.
Boy, great tools. Communication, certainly one of our most frequently mentioned tools because it is so vitally important. I love the vision one, but I'm going to have to go back and check. I don't think anyone's ever articulated, people talk about support your coaches, support your people. I don't think anyone's ever used that phrase, have their back. That might go down in our original tool column. And it's a great tool. Thanks so much for sharing. One more time, if our listeners want to find out more about Sarah Boruta, add you to their network, or more about College Basketball Operations Institute, what's the best way that they can do that?
Yeah, definitely. I would say reach out on LinkedIn. I'm easy to find. There's not many people with the last name Boruta. And then collegebasketballops.com is the website for the College Basketball Operations Institute. And it has a lot of great information and resources. And it also has my contact information on there as well if you want to get a hold of me and we can have a chat as to whether or not the program is right for you.
Well, Sarah, thanks again for sharing time with our listeners today. All the best moving forward with both Liberty and College Basketball Ops. And we are definitely going to bring you back on the podcast for an update. I want to see those Liberty Flames in the NCAA tournament this year.
So do I.
For our listeners, we want to say thanks to you. And just a reminder that we upload the Zoom recordings of all of our interviews to the Educational AD Podcast YouTube channel. We do this just about every day. We try to share stories and best practices from the world of athletics. So please come back and join us again on the next episode of the Educational AD Podcast. We'll see you next time.